All right, friends, it looks like we are live. I'm actually doing a couple of quick posts myself here. It's great to see you. I'm Meteo Mundo Chief Meteorologist Rusty McCraney, and welcome to our live coverage of the total solar eclipse. You are looking at our exclusive view here live on Meteo Mundo from Vincennes, Indiana. We are in the totality of the eclipse. You see the countdown on the top left-hand side of your screen. We're just over 20 minutes away from the totality of that solar eclipse in Vincennes, Indiana. That's in somewhat southern Indiana. It's just north of Evansville, Indiana, here in the heart of the United States. But again, just 21 minutes away. So again, this is a live view that you're seeing right now from our telescope. We have a correspondent out in the field exclusive to Meteo Mundo, and we're so happy to be able to bring this streaming to you live on Meteo Mundo. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let everyone know, click the like button and follow along. Really interested here to bring this to you. Again, you're seeing it. We're well over 50% already. The partial solar eclipse started here in Vincennes at 1:45 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Okay, so the partial. Let's see if I got that right. I might have actually written that down wrong. The totality, I can tell you, begins at 2:02 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Okay, so that's in about 20 minutes. That's going to be, of course, 3:02 Eastern Daylight Time. The peak will be at 2:04, so 2 minutes later, and then the totality ends at 2:06. So we get about 4 minutes of totality of where we are, and that's about as good as you're going to get along this path. Right around 4 minutes of totality is about the most that we're going to see here in the United States. That goes from Texas through portions of Arkansas and Missouri, and then the far southern sides of Illinois and Indiana. As we get up towards Ohio and then other areas of the Northeast, the totality time actually becomes a little bit lower. So again, if you're just tuning in, we appreciate you here at Meteo Mundo. This is our exclusive coverage of the 2024 total solar eclipse. We are live from Vincennes, Indiana. We want to thank Monocle Pizza there for helping us out. And again, I mentioned it in yesterday's video. We were going to have our correspondent in the field. The question was, were we going to be able to have enough coverage to bring you this stream live? It takes a lot of bandwidth to be able to carry this coverage to you live, to put me on camera, to do all of that. So we're glad we're able to do it. So the other thing I can tell you about this too is, again, this is our live view. This is a C-Star S50 telescope that is bringing you these amazing views here. And again, just quite amazing. I actually stepped outside here in Florida and took a look at things just a few minutes ago. We're going to get around 60% totality here, and other areas of the Caribbean, especially in Central America and places like the Bahamas and even, Jamaica. You guys are going to see somewhat of this eclipse. It's just very area dependent. Places like Belize, over towards Cancun and the Yucatan and the Bahamas will get 30, 40, 50%, just really depending on where you are. Now, a couple of interesting facts here as well. On average, one spot on Earth will see a total solar eclipse once every 400 years. Again, we're not talking about a lunar eclipse. We're not talking about a partial eclipse. We're talking about a total solar eclipse in your area once every 400 years. The really interesting thing is there's a very small area of eastern Missouri and a little sliver of southern Indiana that actually had the total solar eclipse back in 2017. So for a very small area, this will be their second time in 7 years. Now, the next total solar eclipse in the United States is not going to happen until August 22nd, 2044. Then the next solar eclipse, total solar eclipse that will go across the contiguous United States is August 12th, 2045, and that will come right over Florida where I live. But I've got even better news for my friends in the Caribbean, the Bahamas. Guess what that total solar eclipse is going to do in 2045 if you can wait 21 years? That's going to dive southeast, and virtually all of the Bahamas, including Freeport and Lucaya and Nassau, all the way through the Turks and Caicos, will be in the totality of that solar eclipse on August 12th, 2045. It moves south and east. It moves right over Hispaniola and the Dominican Republic, and Santo Domingo will be in that total solar eclipse again in 2045, and then moving south and east, it goes right over Trinidad and Tobago. So the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos, the Dominican Republic, and Trinidad and Tobago will see a total solar eclipse in 2045, and a lot of our area will have a high percentage. Places like Puerto Rico will have about 90 to 95%. Jamaica will be in that 85% range. The Virgin Islands, again, 90% totality back in 2045. I know it's going to be a while, but just wanted to give you that information. Okay, so again, you're looking at our live coverage here of Meteo Mundo of the total solar eclipse in Vincennes, Indiana. We are live there for you streaming. We're about 16 minutes away from the totality. Again, if you just look in the center of your screen, you can see that the eclipse is just getting more and more. It's covering up more of the sun here. And again, the totality will begin at 2:02 p.m. Central Daylight Time. That's, of course, 3:02 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We're going to get 4 minutes of totality here in Vincennes, and then it will end at 3:20 p.m. Central Daylight Time or 4:20 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. All right, friends, I'm going to be here. I'm going to step aside for just 1 second so you guys can enjoy it. I'll be back in just a couple of minutes here. Again, you're watching our live coverage here at Meteo Mundo of the total solar eclipse from Vincennes, Indiana. Enjoy it. We're going to put up some music, and I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Hey gang, looks like I am back on. We'll get things to be readjusted here. We might have just lost the picture, Jim. We'll see if we can get that back up. Good to see everyone. Rusty here at Meteo Mundo again. We've got our live coverage of the eclipse coming our way. I can't see it. Oh, it did disappear. Okay. We'll try and bring that up for you again here momentarily. Again, we have a correspondent in the field in Vincennes, Indiana, bringing you the live solar eclipse. And again, we should be able to reestablish that in just a second. It might have just been because they brought me back on camera. First of all, thank you for tuning into Meteo Mundo. We appreciate you. Secondly, I'm actually looking at the live chat. So drop in where you're watching it from here. Let me know what it's been like in your area. There are areas of the Caribbean and the Bahamas that can get and see some of the partial eclipse, but it's also very dependent, of course, on cloud coverage here. Here in Florida, we have mostly sunny skies. I've stepped out a couple of times. We're going to get just under a 60% solar eclipse percentage. But of course, we are in Vincennes, Indiana, in the totality of it as well. Now, unfortunately, we have at least briefly lost the feed here from Vincennes, Indiana, and we're going to do everything we can to reestablish that for you quickly. So I gotta apologize for you that here, but hopefully we'll have it back for you here in just a minute. I'm keeping an eye out on the engineering side here. Got the folks behind the scenes just letting me know. But again, appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully we'll be able to get it back. If nothing else, we'll chat about things for a few minutes. Again, drop in the comments section below where you're watching, and I appreciate all of you guys. And again, we are working on it here to reestablish the connection to our correspondent in Vincennes. I mentioned it earlier. Again, we are dealing with Wi-Fi, and this is our exclusive feed. We're not bagging off of anyone else. We're not stealing anyone else's stream. We want to bring in you our coverage here, and hopefully we'll be able to do that quickly again. We are less than 7 minutes away from that totality. And again, in Vincennes, they're going to get 4 minutes of totality. And hopefully, again, we'll be able to show it to you live here as it begins to stream. So again, we're hopefully loading that up for you here in less than 7 minutes. But again, that totality will begin at 2:04 p.m. Central Daylight Time. That is 3:04 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We get 4 minutes of it, and then the partial will actually stick around for more than an hour after that. So hopefully you'll stick around and watch some of our live coverage of the total eclipse. Let me know again where you're viewing from. Several of you have been chiming in on that, and I appreciate that here. We've got Missouri in the house. I know Eddie there in Puerto Rico and other areas, and we appreciate that. The Dominican Republic as well. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that in 2045, a lot of our area is going to see that next total solar eclipse. Again, just checking in here with our engineers. We unfortunately did lose the signal, but hopefully we'll be able to get it back. And again, one of the biggest issues is when you're going out into rural areas like this, and the total solar eclipse, by the way, is a huge event here in the United States. I know so many people who have gone out to try and get into those exact areas, and you can imagine that there is a big surge on the Wi-Fi end of things and just kind of, jamming up the stream, if you will. But hopefully we'll be able to get it back here soon. Do have a couple of people behind the scenes working on it as we are less than 5 minutes away from our total coverage. Here we go here. Dude, I'll be dead by then. I get it. I understand. Yep. Hey, Tom, watching from Flagler Beach. Appreciate it. You're going to be enjoying things as well. Again, here in Central Florida, a little bit less than 60% overall. So again, cross your fingers. We had it up there for a good 20 minutes, and unfortunately we just dropped the coverage here, but I hope we get it back, friends. I'm crossing my fingers with you guys. We knew this was going to be a potential issue, and I mentioned it in yesterday's video as well. Again, looks like we went completely blank there. But again, the reason why, if you guys can still hear me, is because we're working behind the scenes to try and reestablish that connection. So stand by with us here. This is almost like live television, but this is how it goes. And here on the streaming side of things, you kind of treat it like live television and you roll with the punches, and that's just it. So again, I did mention, yes, in 2045, we are going to get the next total solar eclipse over portions of the Caribbean. It's actually all of the Bahamas will be in that total solar eclipse. all of the Turks and the Caicos, pretty much all of the Dominican Republic, and then all of Trinidad and Tobago. But again, a lot of areas near there, like Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands and Jamaica, you're going to be at like 90-95% totality. I understand it's 21 years out, but I'm trying to reference our area and the next time that we would see this. But again, some of our area is going to see this partial eclipse today. The Bahamas will be included in that, on over towards Belize and the Yucatan as well. But again, here in Vincennes, Indiana, we are in the totality. We are coming up on just 3.5 minutes away. Again, certainly hope that it's going to be back here soon. We're trying everything we can, I promise you, behind the scenes to bring it to you live. I hope that's the case. I know if nothing else, they are recording what they are getting from their Seastar S50 telescope, and we will upload that video for you guys as well. But I hope we have the opportunity to show this to you guys live on stream. It stinks because we had it up about for 20 minutes here before we lost the signal just a few minutes away. We're less than 3 minutes out. I'm going to take myself off screen real fast here, grab a little drink of water, and again, let me know where you guys are viewing from. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and we hope we have an opportunity here to bring you the total eclipse live on Meteo Mundo. Okay, I'm back. So again, I'm just checking in with the engineering side of things. They're working on it back here. Bottom line is, again, the Wi-Fi is difficult to keep established when you're trying to stream. It's a whole different thing if you're just uploading a video, but in these rural areas where, again, a lot of the totality is going to be, okay. Unfortunately, we've had basically communication loss with our correspondent in the field, which more than likely it's because there's a ton of people who are actually trying to stream this live either on their phone or somewhere else, TikTok, who knows, and it can really have a big issue on the Wi-Fi coverage here. So, you know, as I mentioned in yesterday's video, we knew this was going to be an issue. We were really excited that we got the, we got it up and running about 25 minutes ago, but I don't know, just before the 10-minute mark, we lost the signal, and unfortunately, it hasn't been reestablished as of yet. But in Vincennes, which is where our correspondent is, with a lovely Seastar S50 telescope, which if you've been tuning in or you scrub back in the live video, the view was absolutely spectacular. So gotta say, slightly disappointed here. Hopefully we'll be able to get it up. I'm going to wait. We are a minute away from totality. So I'm going to wait. I'm talking with my engineers. Unfortunately, there's just been a comms loss with our correspondent, but we're going to wait and see if we can get him back in about the next 5 minutes. And I think the plan is going to be that if we can't get him back in about 5 minutes, which would be the end of the totality, what we'll do is we'll wrap up the live coverage and we'll post the video of his telescope and the total eclipse on a Meteo Mundo later. So we, again, certainly apologize that, we lost his signal, but we're out there. And again, we didn't want to take anyone else's feed. We didn't want to, hack into anyone else's, or whatever. You're going to find a lot of people who are just streaming NASA or something like that. This is our own Meteo Mundo correspondent who's out in the field. But we knew that this might be an issue in yesterday's video, which is, again, why we didn't really promote it very much, except in yesterday's video. We were hoping that we'd be able to get the stream. So anyway, we have basically hit totality in Vincennes, and we still don't have the signal, unfortunately. Now, again, I'm going to stall here for about another 4 minutes and hope that we get reestablished. But the engineers in the back are telling me basically that we've just lost comms with the correspondent in the field, and I think it completely corresponds with everyone trying to fire up and show the same thing at the same time, and the Wi-Fi signal just probably can't handle it. But again, I appreciate you tuning in. Drop into the comments section below, throw up a like, we appreciate it as well. Yeah, unfortunately, we're still not getting anything here. I'm going to hold on, Jim, for like 1 or 2 more minutes just to see if we can't quite get it back. I don't think there's any harm in that. And again, if you have an opportunity to go outside and see it, first of all, be very cautious. I have actually solar eclipse glasses that I got from 7 years ago, and I've stepped outside to enjoy it here in Florida. Again, we're around just under 60% here in Central Florida. Portions of the Bahamas can see it. Portions of Central America and the Yucatan Peninsula can see it as well. 2045 is our next total eclipse through a lot of our area. I already mentioned that. And the really interesting thing is that on average, one spot on Earth would get a total solar eclipse once every 400 years. Not talking about a lunar eclipse, not talking about a partial eclipse. We're talking about a total solar eclipse over one spot. And there are actually some areas, and it's a small area of the United States, that actually will see their second total solar eclipse today in 7 years. They got that total solar eclipse back in 2017. But for most of the United States and Florida and the Caribbean, it is going to be 2045 until we see that again. All right, I'm going to check in one last time with our engineers here. They're keeping me advised, but unfortunately, we just can't quite get that signal to return. Yeah, unfortunately, it's going to be a no-go, guys. So let me apologize, first of all, that we weren't able to bring it to you live. If you were tuning in just a little bit earlier, we did have the shot from Vincennes, Indiana. It was about 80 to 90% when we were live, so you can scrub back through and see that. Unfortunately, at the Totality, we just lost cell service signal and the Wi-Fi hotspot and everything went kaput. And that's how it kind of goes here sometimes in live television. So, friends, what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up and say thank you. Unfortunately, I just don't think we're going to get the signal back. Everything from the engineering side just says that it's a no-go. What we will do, though, is, again, we've been recording this and we will post that video so you can check that out if you want to, because I will say that if you had watched it a little bit earlier, the views from that telescope were absolutely spectacular, high definition views. So just a little bit disappointed that we weren't able to show it to you guys live. Friends, again, thank you so much for tuning in to Meteo Mundo. Again, wish we could have brought it to you live here, but we'll have the recorded video up as soon as we possibly can. We thank you for liking, we thank you for subscribing, of course. You know, we also bring you the daily forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, which I will give you one very shortly. Thanks again, friends. We'll see you soon.